Now, at one point in your writings, you even say that, well, if we go the direction of saying that God is take something like simplicity. If we go the direction and say God is composite, He's made up of parts. He's not simple. At one point, you say, well, that's really that denial of simplicity is tantamount to atheism. And on the surface, that may seem like a shocking claim to make, but would you tease this out? Why is there some legitimacy to making such a shocking claim to say, well, if you're going to deny simplicity, or maybe it's infinitude or satiety or immutability, you're moving in that direction?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is, intellectually, the roots of modern atheism lie, in fact, in the forgetting of this distinction, don't they? I mean, logically speaking, Daniel Dennett, Richard Dawkins, these people, they have never succeeded philosophically in actually not believing in the God that Christian intellectual tradition talks about, because they don't understand it well enough not to believe in it. What they don't believe in is a deist picture of God as a supreme being who is just like a very, very, very large and powerful man. But, so I mean, they have a picture of an agent in the universe. You can see this throughout this movement, or say, take Stephen Hawking, just passed away, brilliant physicist. But when he addressed whether or not you need a creator, it's clear that he's thinking of a one mechanical cause among others, one composite being among others, so that if you could show that, if you could come up with a plausible cosmology that doesn't need this particular presumed designer in the mix, that therefore you've done away with the idea of God. And in a sense, if that's all we meant by God, he'd be right. So if you deny what are called the attributes of transcendence to God, then you're already on the side of the atheist. You may think you're a theist, but basically you're just worshiping a mythical, a sort of fabulous supreme being. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in the pews should be a philosopher. I'm talking about those who specifically go out of their way to deny divine simplicity because they think they know what they're doing. And at that point, yes, that's tantamount to atheism. And what do you mean by divine simplicity? Well, again, a podcast isn't a good place to go through all of the first principles of metaphysics, right? So I'll try to do the short form. Any composite reality is a conditional reality. Anything that's made up of parts is conditional upon those parts and upon whatever principle of unity allows those parts to be conjoined. Now, the latter, the principle of unity, is always, in a sense, going to be higher, or in scholastic terms, more eminent. It's going to be some higher and more simple reality that's not repugnant to any of the parts involved. Okay, at the ontological level, it allows them to exist together. But it also means that anything that's composite is itself not the source of its own being. It is a composite reality is constituted of parts upon which it's dependent. So both from above and below, a composite being is a contingent being, a conditional being, not God, not the source of being. And as I say, if I could argue, if I had many, many days here, which would be a bit exhausting, we could go into all the logical issues there. But to deny that simplicity to God is simply to deny that you're talking about God as the source of all reality. Because if God is composite, complex, conditioned, then he is a dependent reality, a being among beings whose being comes to him from elsewhere. That clearly is not what we mean when we say God. And if that is what we're talking about at that point, we're just talking mythology. We might as well, there's no real difference between talking about God and talking about Wotan. And talking about Wotan ultimately is going to lead, basically, to a metaphysical atheism, denial. If that's your concept of God, then ultimately you're going to you're simply saying that there is no intrinsically necessary source of reality. There is no God. There is no transcendent reality that gives being to finite reality.